Reddit stories. Weight loss enforced by my parents for my sister's wedding set me on a path of transformation, shadowed by relentless bullying and sibling betrayal. Every pound shed became a victory against a lifetime of humiliation, forging my inner strength and defiance. This is the story of reclaiming power from pain. My parents strongly insisted I slim down for my sister's wedding, but after transformation, they could not bear my success. Throughout my early years, I was consistently overweight and significantly larger than nearly all of my kindergarten peers, who were still exploring their own unique identities, while my size clearly and distinctly set me apart from everyone. As I matured, the extra weight I bore grew increasingly apparent. By the time I reached high school, my obvious overweight condition and bulk constantly reminded me of my inherent uniqueness. College offered little change. While many peers discovered their true identities and embraced various new facets of self, I remained stubbornly trapped in my overweight label, constantly and silently struggling to finally overcome it completely. Being the larger child was not simple. It subjected me to constant ridicule, mockery, and harsh remarks from those who neither knew nor bothered to understand me. During my childhood, I experienced more bullying than I wish to remember. Classmates relentlessly mocked me, their cruel jeers eroding my self-confidence and spawning deep, paralyzing insecurities that seemed utterly insurmountable. As they hurled names, crude jokes, and often made me the undeniable punchline. I was perpetually marked as unworthy of love or friendship, consistently left out of games, parties, and gatherings, leaving me to feel perpetually isolated on the sidelines, while I helplessly observed others navigate the typical highs and lows of childhood and adolescence from a vast, unreachable distance, always desperately yearning for genuine connection. Those relentless bullying years profoundly reshaped my self-image and how I engage with the world. Feeling utterly alienated, I sought refuge in books, immersing myself in rich literature and captivating narratives that enabled me to temporarily escape my daily hardships, as these stories offered me impartial solace without any judgment or ridicule. I earned the unflattering label nerd, a title I truly found distasteful and disheartening. Clara, my younger sister, contrasted sharply with me. Merely a year my junior, she exuded an effortless, magnetic charisma that consistently attracted admiration. Clara flourished in social settings, while I remained timid and withdrawn. Her engaging, dynamic personality allowed her to enter any room and immediately inspire abundant smiles, genuine laughter, and total captivation among everyone present with complete wonder. Clara not only formed friendships effortlessly, but she also possessed an innate talent for winning unwavering support, as though she were an extraordinarily radiant sun, drawing everyone into her orbit. Despite our differences, I truly cherished her and assumed my role as the elder sister with earnest, fierce protectiveness whenever she required support. When she started at the same high school as I did, I was elated. Initially, being Clara's senior filled me with pride, as if I held a special place in her life. However, as she matured and acclimated to high school, she gradually developed her own distinct, independent personality that truly astonished me and others. I noticed a significant change in her attitude. She began to clearly recognize our differences in the disparate treatment we both received, whereas I remained the quiet, scholarly type, while she became vivacious, popular, and quickly cemented her place among the admired social crowd. I observed that as she recognized my quirks and vulnerabilities, which once rendered me uncool, Clara increasingly began to withdraw from me by actively seeking new friends and deliberately ignoring or avoiding me at school, which profoundly hurt my already fragile and sensitive feelings. It truly pained me that my own sibling regarded me as inferior. Nevertheless, I strove to accept her choice and provide the necessary space she seemed to need, even though it deeply hurt to feel I was losing not just a sister, but also a cherished friend. Gradually, however, Clara ceased her constant ignoring and started socializing with individuals who made me feel ostracized. Clara and her friends exploited every available opportunity to humiliate me. Whenever we encountered each other in school corridors or at lunch, they would taunt me before other students and even deliberately attempt to trip me as I carried my tray, all solely for their own twisted, cruel, mocking amusement. It seemed as though I was losing her, not to unfamiliar faces, but to the ongoing taunts and abusive behavior I had long endured. I remained constantly vigilant, trying not only to evade my peers' criticisms, but also the relentless humiliation my own sister imposed, which deeply pained me, particularly coming from someone I had always admired and respected, someone I had trusted since childhood and beyond. When Clara invited her friends over, they would collectively target me at home. They barged into my room unannounced, laughing boisterously and making demeaning gestures at my body. They hurled cruel insults such as geek and fatty, treating me as though I were merely a sideshow attraction. I felt reduced to a spectacle, confined, insignificant, and utterly isolated, like a misfit alien trapped in my own home. Their unyielding cruelty made every moment excruciating, and I yearned to flee that degrading environment. I attempted repeatedly to explain to my parents the difficulty I faced coping with Clara's behavior, hoping they would understand my struggle. Yet every time I raised the issue, they dismissed my concerns, smiling and justifying her actions as typical sibling banter. They insisted it was harmless and advised me to relax, arguing that, as the elder, I should be more patient and resilient. I insisted that my pain was genuine, yet they provided no support, merely urging me to accept Clara's behavior as an inherent, unchangeable part of our family. Thus, not only did I endure years of bullying from peers and even my own sister, but my concerns were continually dismissed by my parents, leaving me feeling profoundly isolated, as if no one in my family truly comprehended the immense depth of my pain. The only moment I felt truly acknowledged by my parents was when I received exceptional grades, since academics had always come easily to me and I had grown used to earning high marks. It was the one realm where I felt superior and the sole avenue through which I could make my parents proud. Being the one aspect of my life they appeared to sincerely value above all else, beyond any measure imaginable. My parents took pleasure in boasting about my achievements to friends and relatives, presenting me as the family scholar and suggesting that my grades proved their excellent parenting. However, Clara despised these comparisons, as she was not academically inclined and never aspired to be, and their continual emphasis on my accomplishments fueled her resentment, pressuring her to match my performance. While I could always sense her frustration and anger, which likely motivated her to act as she did toward me, her bitterness was palpable, driving her to undermine me whenever possible. Occasionally, Clara would try to sabotage my diligent efforts as a form of retaliation. She would stealthily enter my room late at night and confiscate my homework, often moments before a crucial deadline. The following morning, I would awaken to discover my flawlessly completed assignments missing. Panic would overwhelm me, and I would frantically search through my books, papers, and files, growing ever more anxious with each passing minute. Meanwhile, Clara would stand at the doorway, smirking as she relished every second of my distress. To her, it was a small triumph, a means to deflate my confidence and remind me that I was not invincible. She knew how vital my grades were to my self-worth and took pleasure in unsettling that part of my life. I only learned of her thefts years later when she, in a drunken state, confessed one evening. Her confession utterly shattered all illusions I had about our bond and eroded my trust. Over time, my relationship with Clara has softened, yet we remain far from close. Although we have matured somewhat and much of our youthful animosity has faded, the deep bond typical of siblings never fully emerged between us, and our connection remains elusive through changing times. After graduation, I relocated and began a new life in a different city, securing an intriguing job and fresh opportunities, which resulted in seeing my family less frequently as time went by and our communications dwindled to sporadic calls or texts. Last year, when I arranged a summer visit home, I was genuinely thrilled to reunite with everyone. It had been ages since our last family gathering, and I eagerly anticipated catching up and reconnecting. However, not everything unfolded as expected at our family lunch. Initially, everyone seemed delighted to see me, and for a brief moment, it felt like old times. That changed, though, when Clara unexpectedly announced her engagement. None of us anticipated it. We even assumed she was joking. Yet it quickly became clear that she was serious, as she proudly displayed a stunning ring. I couldn't help but comment on its exquisite beauty. I was sincerely happy for her, overjoyed that she had finally found someone she loved and who returned her affection. This revelation marked a turning point in our family saga, leaving everyone momentarily speechless. Almost as soon as the congratulations subsided, Clara turned to me and asked about my recent endeavors. I explained my profession, my life, and how fulfilling my experiences had been. But before I could finish, she interrupted me. I must say, she began smirking and remarked, "Why are you still overweight? If your life is truly remarkable, shouldn't you have lost the excess weight by now?" Her comment struck me like a blow, rekindling old insecurities I believed I had conquered. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence, and I sensed everyone's gaze fixed on me, awaiting my reaction. I merely shrugged and attempted an awkward laugh at her remark, but my parents immediately joined in with criticism. They began discussing how I was still obese and unmarried, expressing concerns that I would never have children. I felt utterly mortified hearing them speak, as if my accomplishments and the life I had built in another city meant nothing. Their harsh words and relentless judgment deepened my insecurity and made me question my self-worth, leaving me feeling profoundly isolated and defeated. The wedding day arrived, and despite my hard work, the tension hadn't eased. I had committed to losing the weight for months, daily runs, strict eating habits, and endless hours in the gym. It was all to prove I wasn't the same person I had been, to show I could meet their standards. But as I stood with the family at the celebration, Clara's harsh words cut through the air once again. Even after all that, you still haven't lost enough. My parents, though quieter, echoed similar sentiments, scrutinizing my appearance as if it had changed, despite the transformation I had worked so hard for. I decided to speak with my parents. Later in the evening, I told them my weight loss hadn't been about meeting their expectations, but about overcoming years of hurt. I needed their support, not their complaints. My words were met with silence, but this time there was a hint of understanding in their eyes, a small shift in their perspective. The night ended, and though the reconciliation wasn't complete, I knew I had moved closer to rebuilding a broken bond, hoping for more than just approval, but acceptance for who I had become. That concludes this story. What are you scared of? And leave it in the comments. Make sure to watch the next unbelievable real-life Reddit story.